Hello fam, this is Latanya Moore and I am excited to share with you my new project, Accept, Adjust, Accelerate. And this 3-part journal and devotional is designed to help you and I as we journey through the process of getting out of ruts and overcoming obstacles. I hope you'll join me on this journey. It's sure to be exciting. As we start thinking about things that we need to accept, there's no better example than Jesus. So let's go to John chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. It reads, "When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria." Jesus recognized a few things that he had to accept in these scriptures. The first thing he had to accept was that it was time to leave. He was drawing a lot of attention to himself because of the work that he was doing. Had he stayed where he was going to end up persecuted long before it was time. The persecution that he was to experience had purpose. It was to lead directly to the cross. But it wasn't time for Jesus to face the cross yet. So if he stayed where he was not going to fulfill God's purpose and plan for his life. That's a hard one for all of us, knowing when it's time to leave. There are some places that have helped us grow, brought us to the place that we are now. There are places that have invested in us and helped us to become. But when it's time to leave those places, we need to recognize that it's time to go. It's never easy. It's hard, but it's necessary. So first, he accepted that it was time to go. We also sometimes need to evaluate whether or not it's time to stay. Have you grown to the place where you need to go? There was evidence of his growth, the numbers that he baptized and what it had induced in other people, how people were responding to his ministry, demonstrated that it was time for him to go. Know the signs. Know when it's time, accept that it's time, and then go. But there was something else Jesus accepted. He accepted that his ministry was bigger than where he was. You and I both have to accept that what God has placed in us is for a particular audience. You see, the Pharisees and the Sadducees in this particular case were arguing over a territory they felt belonged to them. But Jesus's ministry was not limited to that territory. They're fighting over a locality. Jesus's ministry was worldwide. We have to accept that who we are is bigger than where we are, bigger than the people who may have actually brought us to the place that we are. That too is not easy. Accepting that you have, in the words of my husband, outgrown the environment that created you, that's no easy thing. And it's not easy to admit. So accept that it's time to go. Accept that your ministry is bigger than where you currently are. And that also is difficult for another reason. It's difficult because it's hard to see yourself the way God sees you. God sees you as a world stage player, as someone who is going to influence maybe politics or influence young people or influence wherever your scope of influence is, right? You are an influencer and God sees you that way. But sometimes we see ourselves as limited in our ability to influence as very local, maybe in our homes or in our families. But God He sees you differently, and we have to accept God's vision for us, not necessarily ours. We accept it's time to go. We accept that our ministry or what God has for us is bigger than what we can ask for or think. And then finally, we also have to accept direction. Scripture says that he must needs go through Samaria. There was a burden on Jesus to go a route that no Orthodox Jew would go. Every Orthodox Jew would take a longer route around Samaria to get to any point. But Jesus had a burden to go the way he went. Your burden will also show you your direction. Don't leave unless you have the burden. Don't leave unless you have direction. And don't go around where God is trying to send you. This reminds me of Jonah, who tried to avoid going to Nineveh and ended up in the belly of a whale or a big fish. You don't want to have to end up in a situation that threatens to suffocate you because you wouldn't simply obey direction. So know when to leave. Know that your ministry is bigger than where you are. And know that you've received direction from God. Once you've accepted those things, then let's pack up and find out where God is taking us. If you would like more lessons like these, join us in the Accept, Adjust, Accelerate community at acceptadjustaccelerate.com.